welcome back, everyone, to Pod of Thrones. I'm Jeff.
I'm Jennifer.
So I'm just going to get this over with. It's all me. I fucked up. If you were wondering why we haven't had an episode in a while, that's me. And it's very simple. I've learned a lesson.
Yes.
If I have to choose between recording a podcast first and then dinner after, or dinner and then recording a podcast, definitely got to record the podcast first.
Podcasting first.
Because we have had very few recording windows recently. And I fucked up the couple times we had recording windows. And by the time I was done eating a big sub sandwich and chips, I just didn't want to get up and move anymore.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we should do it while we're eating. You know, with like SMR.
ASMR?
Yeah.
The ASMR episode? We got to like come up with something to recap that no one's going to give a shit about because they're not going to be able to really like listen to our words.
How about we do the last episode of Game of Thrones?
Oh, it could be our season 8 recap. We'll do it ASMR style. Our season 8
Maybe we'll do a Game of Thrones themed food. It'll be like all chicken on the bone and ripping noise.
I know someone with a Game of Thrones cookbook. I could ask him to make something for us.
Who?
I don't want to say his name on the show, but he works for me. He's on my team. He's a foodie. Yeah.
Cool.
You know who I'm talking about.
Well, we could just borrow the book or look something up.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Google.
He actually enjoys like chefery. So.
Does he? Oh, I thought you were going to say making Game of Thrones food. That was like
not that specifically. But he really gets into cooking in a way that I don't.
We could play the music in the background.
Sure.
Nice.
Okay. I had this idea once a long time ago. We almost did it on our other podcast, RIP, which was movie and a dinner. Which was we would go see a movie and then have dinner while talking about the movie. We never actually tried it out, but I still have a feeling that with the microphone while eating, you know, like
it's a thing. People love it.
Well, yeah. Well, people love it if they're seeking it out. If it was someone that just enjoys listening to our podcast, they might be like, fuck, gross. Stop eating on the microphone.
Yeah. I get that.
Maybe,
like me, I would probably be like, oh my God, I'm never listening to them again.
Yeah, we'll be in between shows again soon, so maybe we can try that out. We'll go see some nerdy movie. Maybe a Black Widow. We could do a Black Widow recap as movie and a dinner.
Okay.
How about that?
Okay.
we talk Marvel a lot around here. All right. So anyway, we're not quite done with Handmaid's Tale. There's going to be one more podcast episode after this because there's 2 more Handmaid's Tale episodes left. So we're going to talk about 2 of those. But first, Game of Thrones headlines.
No, wait, that's West.
No, that was Game of Thrones. Okay. You were doing it.
I started thinking I was doing something else.
Yeah, you actually had it. Good job. Okay, so I have some Game of Thrones headlines. You have not been keeping up on much, though you did know about one thing before I even had a chance to say it. But I'm saving that one for last.
Okay.
First one, a sad and amusing headline. Now, we talked about the that Game of Thrones reunion special hosted by Conan O'Brien. We talked about that a little while back during, what was that called? The Iron Anniversary or whatever. And Sean Bean, when he was up on stage, he seemed a little out of it, right? Like he didn't always know what everyone was talking about. He was just kind of smiling. And yeah, hey, my head was funny on a pike. You know,
yeah, and they gave him his head.
Yes. Well, he had another interview recently, and someone asked him about Game of Thrones and how it ended. They were talking about other stuff too, like Brexit, but they were talking about Game of Thrones, and they asked what he thought about the ending of the show.
Oh, no.
And he said, I don't know what happened.
He didn't watch it.
He has not kept up on the show since he was killed off. And I take that to mean he's probably actually never seen an episode because he was killed off during season 1. So
that's weird.
Before it ever aired, he was done with the show.
Okay, so now I try to always do this, put myself in the place of those actors and then thinking about watching myself.
I'm not saying that would be easy. I mean, do you listen to your own podcast?
No. God, no. I would not podcast anymore.
But you're way better at this than I am. I just talk more.
No, I'm not.
I listen to ours, not every episode, but just, quality control. The sound more than anything.
Oh, but, wow. Yeah. I mean, you have a voice that is...
But I don't like my own voice. If I hear it on recording, I mean, that's what most people say though, right? Like what you hear resonating in your head is different from what the rest of the world hears. And then microphones might change some of it anyway.
Oh, and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah. I don't necessarily sound like I think I do. But anyway, the point of this is that he has not watched himself or anyone else in this fucking show. Mm-mm. So he just lost interest. So he said, no, what happened? And then in the interview, they told him, Bran became king and Sansa became queen of the North. And his reaction was, so did Winterfell stay separate? Oh, good for them. And that was it.
Huh.
So he's glad that Winterfell had its
I mean, that was his.
That was his thing. That
Yeah.
was the only thing he knew about, apparently. So,
what an interesting dude.
He's just got
How could you not know what happened in your own show?
I would think, I mean, if it was me, I would definitely have friends like bugging me all the time. Like,
and you're not even in those episodes. So you could watch them.
So it would be easy to watch. He just lost interest. Maybe he was angry because he's sort of famous for dying in a lot of stuff. And then when this show came around, it looked like he was going to be the big hero, and then they killed him off right at the end of season 1. Maybe he was just like, fuck everybody in Hollywood for doing this to me again.
Could be.
All
right.
But he's good at dying. Next headline. Game of Thrones prequel House of the Dragon is looking spectacular, HBO chief says. And that's about all there is to it. But
these people.
House of the Dragon is now filming in England, led by showrunner and executive producer Ryan Condal and executive producer showrunner Miguel Sapochnik. Now, he's the guy. He spoke out a little bit. Like, there was inklings that he was not happy with some of the season 7 and 8 stuff because he would direct some of the biggest episodes, including the Battle of Winterfell. I think he did Hardhome. Like, he did big stuff for the show. And his vision was obviously great. I mean, spectacular looking. I mean, I have no problem with how anything was directed in that show ever. It was the writing that kind of fell apart. So now it's cool to know that he's the showrunner of House of the Dragon. I think that speaks well of where the show could wind up going. Anyway, so this executive, Blois, whatever his name is, wasn't giving out any spoilers, but he likes what he's seen of the dailies so far. It looks spectacular, he said. That cast that Sapochnik and Ryan have put together look good. And that's it. That's the headline. Pretty exciting headline, right?
Pretty exciting.
That show will eventually come out.
Maybe
next year.
That show might eventually come out.
Not in 2021, but eventually, yes.
Yeah, but you never know.
I think they're committed now.
There could be another pandemic.
That is very possible.
Very likely. Get ready, everybody. Here it comes.
We live in Southern California. As many of you know, we were just talking about how Disneyland is about to reopen to full capacity because
worldwide.
California is allowing any businesses to run like however they want, whatever. So Disneyland's about to just take off all the restrictions of crowd control and all that.
No masks.
No masks at all?
You're required to wear a mask if you haven't been vaccinated,
right.
but they're not checking for vaccines.
Right. So every asshole that's like, I don't want to get vaxxed and masks are stupid for idiots.
I got vaccinated.
I got vaccinated. So there's going to be a growth in COVID numbers soon.
But I'll still wear my mask. I don't know about all day at Disneyland, but like when I'm close to people, which is all day at Disneyland.
Right.
I don't know. I'll do my best. Even though I've been vaccinated, right? I would wear a mask.
I don't know that we're going to Disneyland, but I mean, I mean
everywhere, like anywhere.
Oh, yeah. I'm still going to wear a mask going grocery shopping. And
vaccinated, I still will.
I love being anonymous at the grocery store. Love it. Love it. Might wear a mask for the next 50 years in the grocery store.
Except it makes me break out.
Yeah, that's a problem for me too. Yeah, oh well. Next headline. And this one's just more of a bummer. This just came through as if you like Game of Thrones, you might like this, but I had to click on it to see what it was. Sony might have just landed the next Game of Thrones. Sony Pictures Entertainment has acquired the rights to the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. This long-awaited high fantasy adaptation, blah, 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 blah. So the point is, there's going to be another awesome nerd show coming. And that could be great, or it could just be frustrating because there's so many of them now. And the Amazon Lord of the Rings one is coming. The Witcher Season 2 is coming.
Well, I mean, we're kind of out of things to watch.
Oh,
I mean, we're really not, but...
Right now, we're in sort of a drought for the really nerdy stuff, which is why we're talking about Handmaid's Tale. But there's a lot coming. And then the stuff that's not high fantasy, like The Boys or Westworld, those are sci-fi or, comic bookies. There's a lot going on. So I don't know anything about these books. There's a little synopsis. The Broken Earth is a fantasy series set in an alternate world where humanity is confined to a single supercontinent called the Stillness.
Ooh, the Stillness.
Something about disasters, earthquakes, but a castle of magic users called something have the ability to control tectonic energy and can help mitigate the fallout of the earthquakes. So something about fantasy and magic and natural disasters and people trying to stay alive.
This is a totally different take on things. I like it.
All right.
Never hear of people controlling the tectonic plates these days.
Not through magic, especially.
Right.
That is a new idea.
Science, maybe.
So we're going to have to check it out. I think there's a D&D series in the works too. Plus there's a Fallout series in the works. There's a lot of shit coming. I mean,
hopefully they'll span it out and we'll be all right.
These streaming services are going full nerd, and it's going to be hard to take.
Everybody's a nerd these days.
Being a nerd is cool.
Right.
Kind of.
It is. It's the thing to do.
Speaking of nerdy shit, and I showed you a trailer for this the other day, there's a new video game coming out called Elden Ring. Remember that trailer?
Mm-hmm.
It looks neat, very dark, fantasy, like an action fantasy game, open world role-playing kind of stuff. It looks like it's a third-person perspective, so a little different from what you might be used to with Skyrim, but
right.
I mean, the visually spectacular.
I mean, you get used to it after a while from
the third-person thing.
Right.
Yeah,
that's all we used to have.
Well, that's what The Witcher was, but you didn't like that game.
I did not.
Mm-hmm.
It was too slow for me.
Well, this one, I don't know. We'll see. It looks like it's got lots of action.
Even though I love The Witcher.
But the reason this one is such a big selling point, even though it's not coming out for like another year, is that it is being written by George R.R. Martin, or has been written by George R.R. Martin. So, what did I say about that?
Not like he has better things to do.
Right. And then what did the internet say? Here we go. Just some highlights from Twitter. George R.R. Martin is never going to finish y'all's little book. The internet seeing George R.R. Martin work on other epic projects that aren't The Winds of Winter. And it's a meme of Peter Griffin with a shotgun saying, I just want to talk to him. Yeah. Saw George R.R. Martin trending, and I feared the worst, that he actually finished his book and I owe someone money. But that didn't happen. And then, of course, my favorite, because it's me, everyone in the world was locked in their house for all of 2020, or at least 2 weeks, and still George R.R. Martin couldn't finish Winds of Winter, and it's an animated gif of the shame lady ringing her bell.
Nice.
So I do have to wonder, like...
He's not going to finish it.
It doesn't seem like it. It doesn't... I'm all for multitasking. You can work on multiple creative projects at once.
I get it. How can you, I mean, if he's lost the passion for it, you can't just write something good if you don't have any passion for it.
But if he's lost the passion for it, does he at least, at a bare minimum, owe his fans the courtesy to say, I don't know about this one, guys. Like... Just be honest about it.
No.
Don't keep saying I'm working on it. Just be
maybe he has it written and he's holding it until after he dies. Then it will be released.
Well, if he's going to do that, I hope he'll have the other book or two. I can't remember how many there are anymore. At least 2 more books, not just The Winds of Winter. There's at least one more after that, right? So if he's going to do that, sort of a shitty trick, especially for his older fans. I mean, and we're nerds. It's not
a trick. This is an old man.
If he
doesn't owe us anything. He has lived his life a long life, and he deserves to do whatever he wants.
He can do whatever he wants. It doesn't make it not shitty. What I was about to say was, us nerds are not always the pictures of health that we're portrayed to be on TV. Some people might be waiting for Winds of Winter to finally come out, and they're not going to make it because he's rich, and he's probably going to get better medical care as he grows old than the rest of us. I'm just saying. Like,
I don't know what you're saying.
Holding it till after.
I don't know.
I'm saying if he holds it until after he's dead, he's going to have disappointed a lot of fans that didn't make it on that journey with him. That doesn't seem fair.
Game of Thrones ruined it.
For him?
Maybe.
I think the show ruined it for him. The show ruined his book series for him.
I mean, how do you come back from an ending of a show that started with your book? You just have to forget it all.
You gotta pull You got to pull what Rick and Stark should have done and do some swerving. You got to zig and zag a little bit. Yeah. It's not too late to change a few ideas now just because you wrote out the basic ending.
Or maybe that was the real ending and everybody hated it so much and now he doesn't know what he's going to do.
Now that is possible. He's like, oh, fuck. And he gets on his computer one day and he's like, The Winds of Winter, Chapter 1. Bran Stark fell off a cliff. Yeah, that could be.
Maybe. That's
but
probably the most likely scenario.
Couldn't he tell people? That's the part that's driving everyone crazy.
He doesn't be like, that's the ending.
No, I'm saying if he was like starting over or making changes because he didn't like the way the show ended, he could say that. And a lot of people that didn't like the way the show ended would be cheering him on and be like, that's cool. Do better. And thank you.
I don't know.
But instead he's writing video games.
Didn't I read once, I think in his blog once, a long time ago, that he said that he had a dilemma with the characters because they've already done something and now it messed up the rest of his story.
I don't know. Did he?
I don't know. I could have been dreaming that or he could have said it.
If anyone remembers that, tell us.
I could probably go back and look. I don't know. That was
probably could, but
at least 2 years ago.
Someone that reads his blog religiously might know that off the top of their head.
Okay, let's move on.
All right. Well, I have one more headline. Drum roll. Or that. Yeah, that works too. It is Pride Month. So why don't we celebrate it with the Pride Monthiest Game of Thrones headline I saw, which was about your girl, Sophie Turner.
Right?
She
is my girl.
She could be your girl.
She could be my girl.
I bet she'd like you. Just in time for June's Pride Month.
That's creepy.
Sophie, what? She's an adult.
She's like 21 or something.
What? So an old girl and a young girl can't get it on? I could pull up in a heartbeat like thousands and thousands of videos that say otherwise.
Okay.
Just saying. Just in time for June's Pride Month, Sophie has made a clear statement, well, kinda, on her social media by coming out as bisexual. Kinda, I guess. I mean, did she actually say that?
No, I don't think she did say that. No.
She posted on Instagram some GIF that read, "Time isn't straight and neither am I."
Right. That doesn't... It's just a GIF.
Then there were also things on the same story. One thing said, "I'm gay," and one thing said, "Bi Pride," and those are different ideas. I mean, if she's gay, then she's got some explaining to do to her husband. But if she's bi, great, whatever. But you can't be both. So
right. I don't.
But if she's at least saying she's not straight, so whatever it is she is,
being supportive.
Maybe she's pansexual. Who
could
knows?
be. I don't know. But you know what? Here's the thing about sexuality.
Uh-oh.
We made up these things about, what a man is and what a woman is and what they should like. We're just animals.
Animals like to fuck.
Right. We're only animals and it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, homosexuality exists in nature. We know that. It's a real thing, not just something funny from Parks and Recreation. Those gay penguins, remember that? But that's stuff that really happened in real life. You see it with a number of different animals. Mm-hmm. And we are animals. That's true. Biologically speaking, we are in the same kingdom.
Right.
As all those animals that can also be gay.
We're just smarter.
Are we? Want to go back to that mask conversation? And the vaccination thing? Sometimes I wonder. Just saying.
Well, sometimes we're a little closer to the animals than...
Now that's...
Yeah, like, there's like different evolutions happening.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So, congratulations, Sophie Turner, on coming out.
If that's what she did, I don't know.
It seems like that's what she did. People are celebrating her for it, so I'd like to think that if she didn't mean to come out, that she'd be like, okay, I was just in support. That's all I was just trying to be supportive. Otherwise,
maybe her and Maisie had a
stolen valor. What?
Maybe her and Maisie had a fling.
Well, I don't know that Maisie came out as bi.
Well, now, if Sophie did, Maisie's going to. That's just the way everything happens with them.
They always do the same stuff.
Right.
If Maisie were to marry a Jonas brother, then I would be on board with that for sure. I'd be like, well, that's a sign.
I think they're all married. They're all taken.
Oh, poor Maisie. What will she do?
I think she's got her own boyfriend. She's all right.
Is he as good as a Jonas brother?
I don't know.
All right, well, look it up, damn it. That'll be for next week.
What are we talking about tonight?
Handmaid's Tale.
Okay, let's do that.
Fine. We're going to run through a couple more episodes and talk about whatever it is we're feeling after these episodes. The first one we're going to talk about is Handmaid's Tale Season 4, Episode 7, Home. So I'll just start with the brief little bit that we saw of Fred and Serena that episode, because all the rest of it is June and Luke and dark shit. We have Serena praying in her jail cell, or maybe in the chapel. In the chapel, actually. Thankful for her baby, and she's wishing for a path to redeem herself for her sins. She wants God to show her the way. Which seems...
She's so brainwashed.
I don't know what she is anymore.
I don't know.
She seems to believe in something, but if she knows she sinned, does she understand what those sins were? You kind of have to admit what you did wrong.
Right, I don't
repent.
know.
Anyway,
I don't think so.
So Tuello comes in and starts talking to her, and she finds out that June is in Canada. That's a bit of a shock to the system. And Fred would like to see her, but she doesn't care. But Tuello's like, well, if you can get Fred to cooperate, it could help you. So she goes to Fred, of course, and he says, God wants us to be together. And she's like, fuck you, man. I've had enough of your shit. And then he wins her over. Do you remember how?
He said that your baby deserves to be free or something, didn't he?
Probably. But if they're going to have any chance at freedom, any chance, they're going to have to work together against Offred. Of course, he has to still call her that. And that's when she like holds his hand and lets her, and there's like a funny look on her face. Like she's obviously sort of tormented by the idea of letting this monster back into her life.
Well, is this when they were walking out of the...
No.
Okay.
That's a whole different thing.
No, I felt like she was not... I felt like the look on her face at that moment was like just, oh crap, he's right. I got to do this.
But I have to do this means I have to become sort of a couple with Fred again.
Right.
I'm going to have to accept
put
this
on
guy.
that face, that
put on
act.
Put on the facade,
which
hold his hand.
she kind of has to she has to believe it herself. I could see that. Like she has to convince herself that it's real in order to actually pull that off.
And ultimately she knows it's wrong, but she's acting out of self-preservation instead of doing what's right, which seems like if you're trying to repent for your sins, again, I think she's on the wrong path. I mean, I'm just speculating. She might be on the wrong path. You know what I mean?
Yep.
All right. So let's talk about June. June gets off the boat, of course. That's where we left off. Seems like forever ago, right? Because it was. Mark Tuello is there to welcome her with a couple other Canadians, and she goes through the whole thing. She seeks asylum in Canada. They take her to a bomb-ass hotel for quote-unquote high-profile refugees. That must be nice.
Yeah, that was nice. I want to be a refugee in Canada.
Well, high-profile refugee.
I'm high profile.
I mean, I guess June deserves it for the shit she went through, but I bet a lot of other not high-profile people were still tortured beyond reason. She takes a shower.
Wait, what? In Canada?
No, when they got to Canada. Before they got to Canada, they escaped Gilead, right? I mean, I'm sure they all
were
went
tortured
through,
in Gilead.
Many of them went through almost as much shit as June, and they didn't get bomb-ass hotel.
True. Look at poor...
Yes?
What's her name?
Rita?
One eye.
Oh, Janine.
Janine.
Well, Janine didn't make it to Canada.
I know. I'm just saying. She's probably had it the worst out of...
She did lose an eye. But she hasn't been shot. But we see June go and take a shower in this hotel, and they show us, like, her body is just covered in scars.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a bummer, huh?
I think it's from the electrical things.
Well, and being shot and being whipped.
Yeah.
She's got a few things. Did she ever get stabbed? No. That was...
She got something and got infected. Oh, that was when she got shot.
She's been through a lot of shit. Luke puts together a nice room service meal, but she closes herself into the bedroom.
Oh my God, he ordered like the whole hotel.
Yeah. Well, hey, the Canadian government's paying for it.
True. It was probably $1,000 for that one meal.
But she just goes to sleep. She closes herself into the bedroom.
He should have probably just chilled out a little bit.
Well, he kind of did. I mean, he prepared the dinner.
I know he wasn't upset. It's just
he didn't like go in there later and like jostle her awake. Instead, he watched over her for 17 hours. What's the longest you've ever slept?
I might have slept close to that.
Really?
Because I've been up, a while before.
I mean, I've stayed in bed for close to that amount of time and even like gone back to sleep, but to not get up to pee at some point in the middle of 17 hours. Well,
yeah, I don't know.
I've heard of people doing that in real life too. I just don't know how that works. Your body must completely shut down. So they talk. Luke's sorry for not rescuing her. They cry over Hannah, of course, and how big she's gotten and how much he's missed. I mean, it's certainly traumatic for him too. And then they start the debrief with Tuello. He wants to know what motivated her to do the risky business of Angel's Flight, getting those 80-some kids out. And she said she promised Gilead that she would make them hurt. She thought about what Serena would deserve. But she doesn't want to do this stuff for very long. They want to go see Nicole. Moira and Emily are there at home waiting for them. But June whispers to the baby. I don't know. I bet you don't remember this. She says, "Your daddy," and she's talking about Nick, loves you so much.
I remember that. It was weird.
She's very conflicted, I guess.
Yeah.
We don't understand what she sees in Nick. But she definitely sees something.
I mean, he's cute, but he's cute, and that is all.
So she wakes up later. She goes to sleep again, wakes up later, and the household is functioning blissfully. Moira's doing stuff. Luke's cooking breakfast and things. They have their own like routine down. June might be a little jealous. I don't know. They go to the grocery store. Moira and June go to the grocery store. We find out in this future, potato chips are no longer available. Now that is crushing for me.
What were they made of? Something else, right?
They had also, beets and rutabagas and shit. Yeah, healthy chips. No more potatoes.
Yeah, they're going to find out one day that beet chips are just as bad. Because you're just frying them.
Well, I don't know. Maybe you bake them instead.
Maybe.
But I was just sad to see the loss of chips. I don't think you care so much.
No, tortilla chips now.
Oh, well.
Tortilla chips and salsa.
Uh-oh. I don't know.
I might be upset.
I don't know.
But I'd be all right. I'd be okay.
But in the middle of this grocery store, she has a PTSD breakdown. She thinks she sees handmaids in Canada. I think they were like nuns. But they were wearing red, which, come on. Like, if you know anything about what's going on in Gilead and you care as a church, you should probably change your nun colors.
Well, you can't just change your nun color.
You could just change your nun color.
No, you can't.
The Pope could be like, no more red nuns.
It must have a meaning.
Anyway, so she has a breakdown, but they get through it.
Well, yeah, and Moira warned her. She's like, "Are you sure?" Not a big deal.
I don't remember that. Rita shows up for dinner that night. Big hug. They're all happy. We hear a little bit about, they have like a little girls talk, right? We find out Emily is still married to what's-her-face. It's just not going that great. They're not sleeping in the same room, yada, yada, yada. Emily is still very traumatized.
Well, yeah. I mean, she's got missing parts.
Yeah, it's gotta suck. And they're all schmoozing and commiserating nicely, but June wants to know if anyone's heard anything about Serena, and it just shuts the room down. And Rita fills her in that she's pregnant. And it looks like June's about to lose her shit. Like really bad. Mm-hmm. But she just says, "Fuck her, I don't care." And I wrote down, I think she might care. We get a quick bit with Una, Moira's girlfriend. She was dropping off a present for June, and she and Moira have a thing, and Una's not going to get back together, but Moira
she convinces her.
Yeah, convinces her that everything they did was going to be worth it, and that Moira really cares about Una. And
yay, Moira.
Una's going to be willing to see her again when she gets back from her next trip.
Yep.
And then we see a little bit more of the PTSD. Luke and June are in the kitchen and they have hugs, and then they start to kiss, but then she panics and has to walk away from the situation.
At least she can, right?
How, I mean, is it?
I don't think I would ever have sex again.
Well, but what about Nick? The Nick situation, right? She was able to kiss him passionately.
True. I mean.
But she was still in the middle of her nightmare.
Right.
Maybe that helps.
Who knows? Humans are complex.
Well, I don't know. But then it's bedtime. June can't sleep. She calls Mark Tuello and she goes to see Serena. So Serena thanks the Lord for the visit, says she wants to make amends. But June just starts to scream at her and stuff. There's no one less worthy of redemption than you. Serena gets down on her knees and begs for forgiveness, but nope. And then things get really weird. This is the big part of the episode. June gets home, and she gets back into bed with Luke. And apparently, now that she's unleashed on Serena, she's feeling a little frisky. So she grabs his dick, and he's okay with it. What she did, she reached in under his pants, under the covers. There was no foreplay. She just went for it. But he's happy to be getting some attention. And she gets on top, and then I don't know, maybe he saw something in her eyes. I don't know, but he's like, hey, wait. And then you remember what she did next?
She held him down. That's right. She put her mouth over she put her mouth over his hand over his mouth.
Right. She shut him up, and then she just rode him all the way home.
Yeah, she basically kind of raped him.
Yeah, kind of.
It's a little rapey.
Yeah, a little bit rapey. The internet, I remember at the time, this was weeks ago, because, again, sorry, but the internet did not react very well to that.
No,
because June's supposed to be the hero of this story. She shouldn't be raping
but we
people.
know June is won over sanity. She's just past sanity.
Yeah,
PTSD
she's
totally
deeply traumatized
to the core.
Now if that would not generally forgive someone from raping someone else. And the world probably views it as less severe because it's a woman dominating a guy. So there's that factor right away, right? That's never taken as seriously in the real world, right? Not just fiction.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So maybe the writers thought that would be okay. It's showing a dark side of June.
No, I think they meant to cause that. I think they meant to.
They meant to make it full on rapey.
Yeah, I think they meant to.
Okay.
She's trying to take back the power that was taken from her, and not consciously.
I remember when we were prepping to do that season 1 through 3 recap, there was a video that I watched, and the only reason I watched it was because of something that was written on the thumbnail, and then the video itself never addressed it. But what it said on the thumbnail was something to the effect of June is the real villain of the story.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
And I was like, well, how are we justifying this? She's doing nothing but freeing children. She gets a lot of people killed.
No.
What?
Well, okay, yeah, she did free all those children, but she effectively fucked up every single one of their lives, even more than what it was.
The children?
Unless, of course, they were being beaten and raped.
Well, maybe
which
not
they
all
would be eventually if they were a woman.
Right. That's the biggest dilemma with Hannah, is that she'll probably be a child bride. And
Do
she
you
might not
wait
know
and
anything.
try to get them out when they're adults, maybe? I don't know.
Well, I mean, if June had been able to get out just her and Nicole, she could have done what she's about to do, I think, and work on the political pressure side of things by going public. And
yeah,
I mean, if you can't wage war because Gilead used to be the United States, which means they still basically have more or less the greatest military might on earth. If you start with that premise, so you can't go to war with them, and you don't want everyone to get murdered, so you can't just run away with the children because they get, people get shot in the back or whatever. And they'll be traumatized. There's all sorts of problems, even with the stuff June did, even if it was heroic, right? So you'd have to do it through political pressure, right? The economic sanctions and the media scrutiny and the United Nations coming together and standing against Gilead.
Sure.
It wouldn't change the minds of zealots, but it's probably your best bet, short of what June did.
Mm-hmm.
So she could have just done that.
She could have been a little safer.
She could have been, yeah. And maybe gotten a few less people killed. Just a few. Yeah. And, after the rape, she does go back and do some more debriefing, where she tells Tuello that Serena is a psychopath driven by hatred and rage. And, yeah, she's just in a very dark place, but also she's finding ways to make herself feel better, I guess. It's interesting. And part of that is taking out her anger on Serena, at least that one time, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, she's not seeing a licensed therapist. She's just kind of doing her own therapy.
Yeah, well, not yet. Well, she still doesn't see a licensed therapist in episode 8, but there is a support group, so we have that going for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but dark.
Yes.
Dark stuff.
She
at
is
the
turning
end of that episode.
evil.
She might be. And I actually have another evil theory, but we'll have to talk about that at the end of this other episode. Handmaid's Tale, Season 4, Episode 8.
Okay, let's do it quick.
Testimony. We start with June giving herself a haircut, and then she goes to a support group. And the support group appears to be former handmaids, maybe all handmaids. I mean, Moira sort of was one, too.
Yeah, they were all or Jezebels, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe colonists. I don't know if they were, well, Emily was a colonist.
But then she was back as a handmaid.
And she wasn't,
and
right.
She got out. So Moira's leading this group, and June doesn't quite feel like she fits in.
She doesn't.
She's not really talking much, but
It's always been June. She's got to be special.
Well, she doesn't seem to like, and we find out later she doesn't, but like the way these ladies are talking about the situations they were in is very like, we're trying to make it better. And we're going to see that June is not interested in making their feelings better. She's interested in revenge. Yeah. Yeah. So June really doesn't fit in with the group. We get a quick bit with Fred and Serena. Fred has a confirmation of charges hearing. We find out it's the International Criminal Court. It's not a normal thing, right?
Is this when she goes in?
Well, not yet, but they know that June is going to speak to the court. And I guess the good news, quote unquote, is that if she speaks to the court, the defense gets to ask her questions. And that's going to be the crux of Fred and Serena's defense. Okay, so the group's over. We flash back to the group. Emily and this lady comes up to her, and this lady's trying to talk to Emily, and Emily doesn't want to talk to her or talk about who that lady was after they get rid of her. I wrote down maybe that was her lover in Gilead. That's where my head was going. Like maybe that was the lady that she had an affair with that she got in trouble because of that.
No, that lady is dead.
Well, yeah.
You think there's
they
another
probably
lady?
said that. They probably said that 3 seasons ago, but I didn't remember that. But yeah, so I mean, look, my head was just going there that it was probably a thing where they had something, but that is not the case, of course. But the lady dropped a note and June picks it up. At dinner that night with Emily, of course, June wants to know who this lady is. Her name is Iris Baker, and
she's an auntie.
Yeah, she used to be called Aunt Irene, but Emily doesn't want to talk about what happened, so we have to wait till later to hear that. June and Luke have a moment where June does not want Luke to be at tomorrow's hearing. How do you feel about that? I mean, if it was you and it was me, would you want me there or would you not want me there to hear, like I kind of know what happened to you, but maybe not in every excruciating detail.
I cannot put myself in that position. I can't imagine feeling as like she feels, you know?
I mean, you've been through some shit, but I mean, nothing like this, but
I expected her to have more details.
When she did the actual testimony? Because the things that she said were nothing that he couldn't have heard, that, you know, nothing earth shattering for him. Just the
like,
general.
If she had spoken details about, I don't know, some other things.
Yeah.
You know, anything horrible that had happened, like the rapes and Jezebels or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
But she didn't get very graphic, so.
Right. Yeah.
I was like,
I agree.
I didn't know. She just doesn't want him to know. Maybe she was going to talk about Nick. She did say that she was forced to.
She did talk about that. You're right.
Maybe
that was the part she didn't want to hear. Good point. But, I mean, he knows that Nicole's not his baby. Yeah. And quote unquote was conceived in love or out of love or whatever that was. So that
they haven't spoken about that.
Is this couple going to make it? Mm-mm. I don't know. I don't know about June and Luke.
I don't think so.
They might not be able to make it through this, huh? Oy. All right. So she says, you know, please don't come. And then she finds out that Luke's been talking to Mark Tuello behind her back and just giving Mark some information about like the lake house where she met Hannah and, stuff that she had told Luke but hadn't told Mark yet. And now she's really mad about that.
I'd be mad.
Luke and Moira have a moment after June storms off, and he does fess up to Moira that not only is June like a stranger half the time, but also she's kind of scary in bed.
Did he say that?
I don't think he said scary in bed, but something about the sex. Yeah.
I don't remember him saying that talking about the sex.
He did. I don't have the exact quote, but he did say something like, in bed, it's not healthy. I don't know. But Moira says that he has to be patient because she's getting over trauma and that is a rough road. But June was listening to them the whole time. Of course she was. Back to Fred and Serena as they prepare. Serena has to look unafraid and she has to be there at the testimony no matter what. They have to show solidarity, right? And they have transcripts from Moira. And Serena, I don't know if she was taking delight out of this or she's just upset that this stuff's coming out. But it said something to the effect of, Fred would make me... but what Moira said was, Fred would make me, Moira, fuck another Jezebel while he masturbated because he couldn't always get it up.
Nice.
Womp womp. Maybe it was the alcohol or drugs. Like, not a healthy lifestyle at Jezebel's. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Fred's got some major issues.
Well, yeah. Yeah, he's definitely got more than a few. And then
maybe that's why he could never get anybody pregnant.
Yeah. Until he finally made sweet, sweet love with his wife, only to be betrayed. So now it is testimony day. June enters what is easily the whitest courtroom that has ever been filmed ever. And Serena shows up in her wifely teal. Very nice. And I love this line. I had to write it down. June comes up to the bailiff and she says, "Is there a Bible?" And he says, "No, ma'am, not in this court."
Yeah,
so that
was fun.
That was something. And then Luke shows up and June is displeased. I don't know. The testimony begins. Again, it was a little bit disappointing. There's some stuff that gets us some perspective. She was sent to Fred in 2017 as her second posting. I think we knew that. I'm sure we knew that. But when you sort of first get into the show and we see her training and then we see her getting assigned to Fred's house and it's so like immediately uncomfortable and violent with Serena slapping her around and stuff. Don't really think about the fact that this actually isn't her first posting and she's kind of been through this drill before. So that is kind of strange for me to now hear that and sort of put it into perspective. And there was another thing that we learned that they didn't show us before. The ceremony is on 3 consecutive nights.
I think we knew that.
I don't think they showed us that. Maybe
I don't think they showed us,
once.
but yeah, I think they talked about it.
Yeah. Did they? Okay. Well, maybe.
So.
I mean, it makes sense from a fertility perspective. I'm not arguing that. But I don't know. It just didn't occur to me before. It just seemed like once a month they have to do this thing, and then
that's not so bad.
Well, I'm not saying it's not so bad, but it's bad. But then if it's 3 nights in a row, that's much, much worse. Is more sort of where my head's at. She talks about Nick. She talks about her first escape attempt and how she got recaptured. She talks about how Serena lost a finger with her rebellion of reading in public. She talks about her second escape attempt and how she stayed behind on purpose to try to find Hannah and how she failed. She talks about the whole thing with Lawrence and how, Commander Lawrence didn't rape her, but then Fred made Lawrence rape her, or made them rape each, I don't know, made them fuck each other, right? Like,
and then his poor wife.
Right, which led to Mrs. Lawrence dying. Now, kinda.
Totally.
Well, she wound up overdosing on some drugs, but she was still alive when June found her.
That's right.
June let her die because it served her narrative, right? God. She wanted to help.
Did she put the pillow over her face?
No, I think she just
let her die.
We'll just let her die, I think. Yeah.
I hope so.
Pretty sure. But that was June trying to make sure that Lawrence would be even more angry at Gilead, right?
Well, but also that lady was a big hassle.
She was, but she was nice.
She was going to give them away.
She was a good person.
She was totally. I'm not saying that.
Was she a liability to Operation Angel Flight? Yeah.
Huge liability.
Of course. But does that make it okay?
Yeah.
To let her die? Would you let her die?
Just kidding.
Come on.
I might let her die because she was miserable. Can you imagine living like that? I'm going to be that way someday.
I'm sorry. You're going to be trapped in some kind of weird rape marriage?
No, I'm going to be in that state of mind.
Oh, like schizophrenic?
Yes.
Really?
She wasn't schizophrenic. I think she had Alzheimer's or something.
Well, that could be any of us. We have to keep our brains busy. Women in Gilead can't keep their minds busy. So any condition she had was only going to get worse. You need to exercise your brain.
Yeah.
By, doing puzzles and podcasting.
I think that's why they had the music playing all the time.
Who?
Remember,
in Lawrence. In Commander Lawrence's house? Yeah, maybe. That would be, yeah. That could be.
Until June came along, that is. She ruined everything.
Yeah, June ruined everything. So it all ends with, countless women will remain unheard. Please confirm the charges against Fred and put him on trial. Fred looks concerned, but then it's time for the defense. And this shit is exactly what you expect, but it's still disgusting to hear, even though it's stuff that's happened in real America and probably other parts of the world, but definitely America many times in our past, which is slut shaming. June, didn't you have an affair with a married man before? Meaning Luke, of course, who was there. And she chose the life of a handmaid because she didn't want to go to the colonies.
What choice is that? It's either you die or you get raped.
Mm-hmm. And then Fred explodes with a whole diatribe about the rape was a holy ceremony. Where else in the world besides Gilead is the birth rate rising? We've been rewarded for our suffering, he says, while rubbing Serena's belly. And also he was kind because he let June see Hannah those couple times.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So nice.
Yeah, he's such a good dude. So then June storms out. What a piece of shit. I mean, he's fighting for his life, I guess, and that's what anyone who's fighting for their life would do. But boy, what a piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Back to the support group now. Everyone claps for June on her way in because she did a great job. But June brought Aunt Irene with her. Iris.
Iris?
Mm-hmm. That's her real name. She was Aunt Irene.
Oh, okay.
Irene wants to speak, or Iris. Iris wants to speak. Moira doesn't want that. Or not Moira. Emily doesn't want that. But the group says she should be allowed to stay and talk. So Iris says she's done terrible things, and we find out what it was. Iris was the one who turned Emily in for having a lover who was a Martha. And that does ring more of a bell.
Right.
It wasn't that she fell in love with an aunt. Oh, well, we didn't know who Iris was at that point. Iris could have been a Martha. I don't know. But it wasn't, Iris was not her lover.
Wait.
Iris was the one who fucked
Iris
it up.
was an aunt or a Martha?
Iris was an aunt.
Okay.
But I was saying, I think we knew once upon a time that Emily had fallen in love with a Martha, but who says that's not Iris? It could have been Iris. I don't know. But it turns out Iris, was the aunt that figured it out and turned them in. So they hung Martha and mutilated Emily. Mutilated Emily. Iris just wants forgiveness, and Emily ain't having none of that shit. Emily says there's nothing Iris can do to make things better. Now, I'm thinking you might not want to forgive her, but maybe help us destroy Gilead, and that will make up for what you did.
Sure.
That's what I would have thought.
Yeah.
Emily didn't think that. What would you have done?
I might have kicked her in the face.
Oh, but that would be okay. I mean, I think Iris would think she deserves that. And then
I probably would have kicked her in the face, yeah.
After you kicked her in the face?
I would have walked away and let her do, like the other people can convince her. I don't care, but yeah. I probably would not
have given her that opportunity to redeem herself.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, that's fair. Again, I don't know what it's like. I can't relate. So I will take your word for it. So that's what Emily did.
How can I relate?
I don't know. You're a woman.
Okay. It goes the other way too. What if it was you?
With Martha once.
Somebody you were.
But my problem is I'm super logical guy, right? So even though I would have been, I guess I would have lost my dick. Like that would have been the ultimate awfulness, right? But there still would have been a part of me, especially after an amount of time has passed, that would have been like, look, I hate you and you are the worst person that I've ever known, but if you want to redeem yourself in the eyes of whatever deity you believe in, my logical brain is thinking, do your part to come out into the public and destroy, help destroy Gilead. Talk about being an ant. Talk about how all that shit went down. Talk about the shit you did.
Because
she's just like hiding as a refugee.
Is responsible for your love of your life's murder.
Or we don't know love of your life.
Somebody that she was in love with. They were clearly.
She had a wife in Canada.
And then she had to watch her be hanged.
Well, that's bad.
Yeah. Then get your clit cut off? No.
Well, that didn't happen till later, but still.
It happened. And it's all that lady's fault.
Yeah. All very true. I'm just saying my logical, whether it's a boy brain or just me because I'm a robot, whatever it is, I feel like I still would have thought some level of strategery.
I just wish that you were a little more upset that I'm dead. I guess.
Oh, it's you now?
Well, of course.
Well, I thought we were in a fantastic... No, because you're in Canada. That's the problem. I found a side piece to comfort me. Oh, so it'd be
different if it was me. Okay.
Well, probably, yeah. But you're in Canada. So I found a side piece to comfort me while I'm trying to figure out how I can get back to you in Canada.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's the Emily situation.
Right.
I'm not saying I would actually do that. I'm just saying that's the Emily situation. Anyway, so Iris has no hope, I guess. And from doing all that at dinner time, June seems quite pleased with herself. Luke apologizes for showing up at court, but she says we're good. And then he starts to break down. And she actually looks like she's concerned for him. And she feels bad that he's crying and upset. And she hugs him. And then she kisses him. And then she starts to go for his dick. And he makes her stop.
Yeah.
And screams, "Talk to me!" at her.
She doesn't know how to do that anymore. She hasn't had that opportunity.
Is that all it is?
Well, I'm sure that she doesn't want to think about those things. She just wants to escape them.
Yeah, which is not unfair. I have no idea how I would react in that situation. No clue. If I was Luke, I mean, it's good to have sex. Mm-hmm. You missed your wife all these years.
And it's kind of hot. That
he appears to have never gotten
a
side
forceful.
Piece. And right, she's aggressive. She wants the dick. That's a turn on for most guys. Luke's such a poet though, right? Like he's very
sensitive.
Sensitive, yes. He's a sensitive soul. More so than me. A little bit. What?
What time is it?
Well, we're recording a podcast right now, but it's 10:15 at night. Not really. Are you leaving? Are you leaving the podcast? She's storming off, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm out of here.
As I've said, we've had not great windows of opportunity to record a podcast, so there are children in the house right now, which we normally don't do. But she's checking a child.
Okay.
All right, we're back. Moira and Emily have a little talk. Moira's trying to defend June. She thought it would help to bring Iris to the meeting. But then they agree. Well, Moira actually then says to Emily, Iris would be a hell of a witness for the ICC. And Emily's like, fuck, okay, fine.
I'll go talk to her.
Moira's logical brain, I'm going to go talk to her, and it's too late.
Too late.
What did Iris do, babe?
Apologize. She hung herself.
From the hanging tree. Yep.
And she just turns around. All these cops are there.
I wouldn't a cop have stopped her?
Yeah. Can we question you, please? Did you know this woman? Anything happened earlier today?
These are Canadian cops.
Anybody make her feel bad?
Just too nice, I guess.
Yeah.
So Emily just makes a Yui, drives away. Yep. Protesters outside either the court or the jail are waiting for Fred and Serena.
Yeah.
They're on their way somewhere, and they get to walk out of something. I don't know if it's the court building or the jail, but either way,
they're being transported.
They're about to have tomatoes thrown at them. This is going to be an awful experience. We hate these protesters. And they step out to
cheers,
ravenous applause. And people with signs, Gilead is the way, free Fred and Serena.
I bet those are paid people.
Paid protesters?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that would be such a great twist. And ripped from the headlines. We've had that here. Could be. Or it could be that people are so desperate to have babies.
Yeah.
That they actually watch that testimony and
it's
said,
all plastic.
What's all plastic?
That's what's affecting the birth rates.
Well, Gilead went fully organic, right?
I know.
That's their defense. Well,
and now Serena's pregnant.
Well, yeah, and Serena's pregnant. It seems like maybe Gilead could have not done the Handmaid thing, gone, clean, no more plastic, no more.
Well, maybe they tried.
They're all such fucking hypocrites anyway. I mean, if Fred's doing bumps of heroin, like.
Was he?
Well, I don't know. They do all sorts of weird shit in the Jezebels, right?
He's straight to bumps of heroin. That's where you go.
Probably.
Can't just drink.
They were all doing drugs there.
Well, I don't know. I was just in actual real life. Merms.
What?
Men's sperm count is down to half what it used to be in 1960s.
Yeah. But have birth rates actually slowed? I mean, sperm count could be lower, but
I don't know about that, but
I think
eventually men will have zero sperm.
Well, that would be a problem. We can start cloning each other. That'd be fun. I mean, yeah, there could be a problem coming. I don't think it's a problem yet. If there's a problem right now with birth rates declining, it's that millennials are. It's the headlines you see are like millennials just aren't having sex like other generations or whatever. And I bet you it's not that they're not interested in having sex or relationships or buying houses, all the things that you hear millennials aren't doing. I think it's more like they get out of college and they have to live with their parents for 10 years because college loans are so expensive. And that makes it very hard to form a lasting relationship because you can't afford to break out on your own and you don't want to bring a girl home to your parents' house. Whatever those different situations may be, I think life is just hard and broken, at least in America, for young people now. Mm-hmm. And that's probably affecting them more than sperm counts.
Yep.
But sperm count could still be a problem down the line. I mean, we all have chemicals inside of us. We all have, I don't know specifically what they are off the top of my head, but there's ones that just get in your body from, whether it's pesticides or pollutants in the air, pollutants in our mattress. I mean, God only knows. But once they get inside of us, they never leave. And we don't know what they're doing to us.
Well, they're cutting your sperm count down.
They might be.
They are. Scientifically proven.
Well, but if that's the permanent ones, then we're fucked.
It is.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, it is.
Well, then it would take a new generation living cleanly to fix the problem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's all right.
Get those chemicals in.
I mean, we're not having more kids, so.
Well, you and I are not. No.
Right.
That would take a miracle bigger than what Fred and Serena can produce. Yeah, my sperm count's very low. I'll say that openly to anyone that asks. If anyone says, "Hey, nice to meet you. How's your sperm count?" I would say, "Just about 0, sir."
Good to know what you'd say.
Yeah,
right.
That's what I would say. I'm happy about it. Proud of it. I'll wear it on my sleeve. I'm
going to get you a nice headband or something.
So the support group discusses Iris's suicide. They're all comforting Emily and saying, you shouldn't feel guilty. But Emily says, I feel amazing. I'm glad she's dead. And I hope I had something to do with it. Woo. Mm-hmm. And that gives June a reason to smile because June's all about the revenge.
She's evil smile.
Mm-hmm. And so this opens up a discussion of what they would all do to their former captors if they could. Moira can't handle this.
No, she does not like this.
Right. She tries to cut the session short, whereas June is like, why can't we be as furious as we feel? So Moira winds up leaving and the girls stay and commiserate. And at the very end of their part, June comes home. It's a long, slow scene of her going into the house, walking upstairs. Eventually she finds Luke. I think he's just sitting there with his head in his hands. She holds him and she says, Luke, I need to tell you something about the last time I saw Hannah. And we don't know what that is. But that's how they left it.
Yeah.
Now, normally I save June for last. Do you have any comments about the June story before I move on to Gilead?
No.
Okay.
No.
So the Gilead stuff.
This was the Gilead
best.
is Gilead.
No. Gilead is not Gilead. No. I will not take that from you today. In Gilead, it's the Aunt Lydia story that I am now very intrigued by. Aunt Lydia is starting to get her revenge. She's got who's that awful aunt? I can't remember her name now. I think I wrote it somewhere. But like, she freaks out at this little handmaid that's like scrubbing a floor and not doing a good job of it. She zaps her, and then she zaps it's Aunt Ruth, that tall lady that tried to fire Aunt Lydia before.
The new boss?
She was the new boss, but I guess Aunt Lydia is now because she goes bonkers and hurts these people. So she gets called to Lawrence's house. They have a little meeting. Lawrence doesn't understand why she's doing this. The handmaids are so compliant. Why are you zapping them? And he says, it must be killing you that June won. She's free as a bird and singing like one too. But Lydia says June will answer to God. And he says June won because she can make people like her. And people don't like you, Lydia. That's probably true.
Very true.
Although it's so sad because Lydia can be very sweet when she wants to be. Like
She's
even
a hard person to read.
Yeah, for sure, because she can turn on a dime. But like even with the handmaids, there are, if they're being, especially in the original training, like if they're being compliant, if they're not talking back to a point where they have to get their eyes gouged out, she will talk to them very, very nicely and sweetly and tell them that she's there to protect them, which of course turned out to be a lie. But she can seem like a sweet, motherly figure.
Sure.
She can, but she's not. So she's afraid she's going to get fired, which is weird because she has like dirt on him, but she's still afraid of his power now. But he said, nope, I'm not going to fire you, but you have to change your approach. But in the meantime, in the middle of all of that, we have a situation, and it's...
Here's a present for you.
Janine. Her defiance is a poor reflection on your training, Lydia. And he says he accuses her of enjoying inflicting pain on people, which she says that's not true. I'm not sure what the truth is. Does she enjoy it, or does she just...
No, I think she just flies in like she gets in a rage.
Yeah, it's just unstable, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she can't
I've been there
herself.
before.
No, not with me yet. I'm never going to let you own a cattle prod, I tell you what. So he says, do with Janine what you will. What the fuck is Lawrence playing at? Why would he do that? Does he maybe just genuinely not care about Janine, or does he have some other plan?
I like to think that he has some other plan, but I don't know.
He doesn't have any bond with Janine. He has a bond with June at best, and he's suffered because of it. So
I think we have to wait and see. Because he's also a hard character to read. Is he evil? Because he did plan the colonies and all of that. Or was he just made to do that?
Well, he he seems to regret a lot of that, but then does he?
I know.
Like he's trying to work on like fixing Gilead now.
Mm-hmm.
And
What does that mean?
I don't know. These are good questions. But the last scene here is we get to see Janine again. She is alive, of course, because she didn't die on screen. She's in a cell, dirty, filthy, filthy, gross. Her eye has been oozing.
No.
Very sad.
Poor Janine.
And Aunt Lydia wants her to know that Gilead saved her from starvation and worse. Janine wants to know where June is. June made it to Canada, and Janine is happy for her because Janine's a nice person. But Lydia tells her that June left her behind on purpose.
Mm-hmm. Do you think she believes it?
She might. Janine's impressionable.
She's damaged goods.
Yeah.
I think she might believe it over time. I don't know if she believes it yet, but she might.
So Janine accepts that she's going to be tortured and killed for what she's done. She just doesn't want to be a handmaid again. And Lydia doesn't say what her fate will be, but she hugs Janine. A motherly thing to do.
Right.
She hugs the upset
seems to
Janine.
Care about Janine.
I think Janine was always her favorite because Janine was sort of very compliant most of the time, but broken.
Very
Maybe
broken.
Aunt Lydia feels a responsibility for being the one that broke her. That could be. Which would mean Aunt Lydia has a conscience, and if she has a conscience, maybe she can be redeemed in some fashion. So Lydia gives her a big long hug, and Janine has a pensive look on her face. And that is the part that intrigued me the most. What is next for Janine? I know we could just go watch an episode right now and find out because we're behind, but since we haven't watched episode 9 or 10, I have a feeling, and I don't know if it's a hope or just a suspicion, because it might be kind of cool, but Janine could become like the dark handmaid. She could fall to the dark side and start working for Gilead, and more specifically against the rebels in some capacity. Politically, maybe. She could become a figurehead.
You think so?
The face of Gilead.
It's an interesting
and say whatever they want her to
twist.
say. Would be an interesting twist. It would be a kind of a cool twist, just from getting to see Janine do something different.
True.
Or she could be smarter than Aunt Lydia thinks she is and see right through Lydia's bullshit and pretend to play along with whatever Lydia's got planned and then figuratively or literally stab her in the back.
We'll see.
You have no...
I have no idea.
Oh, come on.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
All right. Well, I'm kind of rooting for Dark Janine because I think that would be interesting. She's got to come back, of course, but she could be dark for a while.
Yeah, that would feel good.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Janine will feel like she could be empowered by her darkness.
Mm.
Very Vader-like. Yeah. Except she's a mother. Ah. Dark matter. All right. Well, sorry again that this is so late, but we're going to go watch episodes 9 and 10 within the next 48 hours or so, and then we'll be back as soon as we possibly freaking can with the last episode of the Handmaid's Tale stuff. And if you have any requests of what we should do next, let us know, because we haven't actually decided yet. You can find me, of course, as Jeff at potofthrones.com or Pot of Thrones on Twitter.
Jennifer at potofthrones.com or at Kid Free Weekend on Twitter.
There you go. So reach out to us if you have anything to say. We'd love to hear it. Otherwise, we'll wing it like we often do. It might be movie and a dinner, and if it is, that's kind of your fault for having to listen to us chew because you didn't tell us what we should do instead. I have a couple things in the queue like that just aren't available on TV. People said we should watch Mythic Quest, but that's on Apple TV. People said we should watch that one with Wash from Firefly, where he plays like an alien that's a doctor. I can't remember what it's called right now, but that's not on any of the streaming services yet. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll talk about something.
Stuff's coming.
Yep. And there's a lot more shit coming. So, yep. All right. Well, we'll be back hopefully within the next just a few days, honestly, because I'm going to put this out as soon as I can.
All right.
All right.
We'll see.
We'll see. Bye, everybody.
Bye for now.
Hail Gilead.
Hail Canada.
Blame Canada. Blame Canada. Remember that?
No.
South Park movie? No?